Hey, what's up guys? And I'm back with a voice recording. I've been busy for the past couple of days and I hadn't had time, but I'm back now guys. So yes, I got this interesting premise about a crossover. I did something like this before, but it was for quirks from My Hero Academy. But this time let us dive into the Smallville universe. A twist with the Smallville universe and the Naruto universe. It's an interesting premise that I got not so long ago, so just check it out and let me know what you think and if you want me to continue, if you want part 2 guys. Let us see a world where Naruto is a Kryptonian, but not just a normal Kryptonian, and the Naruto world is not just normal anymore. Just check it out and let me know what you guys think, okay? And also, if you haven't seen the other channels yet, they will be down below in the description, so go ahead, check them out, and yeah, enjoy each and every one of them. So without further ado, or wasting any more time, let us begin now guys. No one saw it coming. There was no warning. No ancient scroll that had predicted this moment. No elder who had woken up in a cold sweat, predicting destruction and chaos. The sky simply opened, and within minutes, the world that had existed for centuries, went through something that they believed they would never survive. The first meteor struck the outskirts of the land of Earth just before dawn. Then another. Then 10 more. Then countless more. They screamed down from the heavens like the universe had made a decision to see the elemental nation destroyed, and no one could do a thing about it. No war that had put them through this. No calamity that they had faced that had been so terrible. This was beyond violent. This was apocalyptic. The ground shook so hard, many could not even stand. Buildings that had survived decades of conflict crumbled within seconds. Mountains that had been seen as landmarks crumbled. Entire regions reshape and collapse in on itself. Canyons crumble and fill. Valleys fill in with rubble. Rivers rerouting themselves by force. Thousands of people died within the first hour alone. Then tens of thousands. All across the elemental nation. Every village that ever called itself a hidden village was scrambling. The stone, the cloud, the mist, the sand, Konoha, all the elite ninjas threw themselves into the sky with everything they had. Wind techniques to redirect debris, barriers to stop and spear, earth jutsus to raise shields and protection over all. None of it was enough though. For every meteor they seemed to stop, dozens more came through. It was worldwide destruction, and Konoha was not being saved either. The village that has stand tall as the strongest village in the entire elemental nation was being bombarded. Minato Namikaze had moved the moment the sky started to fall. He's only been Hokage for 1 year now. He was 21 years old, one of the youngest Hokage, and was proven to be one of the greatest as he was on his path to becoming something that would be written about in the history books forever. This was his moment to protect his home, but he never expected a calamity like this. He never expected something this bad. Nothing in his training had prepared him for this, where the sky seemed to open up, The heavens were lit. It was almost like the sun was coming down. You could see the flames on those meteors, the flames that were flickering green, which was odd. Minato Namikaze moved across the sky so fast. People were only seeing the yellow blur, teleporting from one point to another, redirecting, changing trajectories. Minato Namikaze proved why he was their hero in that moment. His flying thunder god had no equal when it came to raw speed, and for a few moments it seems like Konoha would be spared from the calamity of judgment that the heavens seemed to be raining down towards them, as he slapped ceiling arrays on meteors, sending them away to a safe spot where they would kill no one. But there were too many of them. And that is when it started to happen. Something was wrong. His ceiling arrays started to dissolve. It was like something within the meteors was actively eating away at the chakra that bound the ceiling array together. As Minato saw it, Minato saw one of the meteors tear through the barrier. It was that strange green glow that came from it, something they couldn't understand. Every instinct that he had was screaming that something was wrong. These weren't natural, that they weren't simple meteors that were falling from space. These had came from somewhere specific. They did not know where, and they didn't have time to figure it out. Shinobis after shinobis, they were trying their best. They were giving it their all. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, they were trying. As hours went by, midday, Konoha was hurt. More hurt than she has ever been. Hurt in ways that left many standing there hopeless, afraid, terrified. Many districts were destroyed. Countless lives were gone. Civilian centers were packed. The shelters overrun. The medical team overwhelmed. They weren't strong enough, mentally or physically, to handle this kind of trauma. Kushina Uzumaki proved to be an anchor on this day. Those Uzumaki chakra chains working over time, saving countless. But even with that, even with those indestructible chains doing so much, it seems like it wasn't enough. You could see the strain on her. Her arms and legs were shaking as she lifted entire building debris, saving countless. Yet she and the people of Konoha were willing to bow down to this, even if it killed them. When the bombardment finally ended, the silence that struck the world was deep, extremely so. Almost everyone just took a stop. Even those that were injured, they just took a moment as they held their breath, gazing at the entire world. Well, their village, but the moment was so deep and so hard on them. They were having a difficult time, as they were truly trying to see the impact of everything that has happened. The skyline of Konoha that people were used to seeing when coming to the village was no longer there anymore. Minato Namikaze could not even get an estimate. He couldn't get an estimate on how many people died. People were still moving. However, that part of him, that loving part of him that cared for the village, also yearned for another as well. He needed to see if she was okay. He went to find Kushina, people speaking about her heroic acts. As he made his way, people were talking about her heroic acts because most were too traumatized to even think about the calamity that has bombarded them. They were too traumatized to even think about the loved ones that they had lost. Many were already on their knees crying. He made his way as he found Kushina. She was a distance away from a lot of the people. She was almost alone. She was holding a baby. Minato slowly made his way towards her. It was a small infant. He had dark silky hair, small, blue eyes, as he lay within her hands. He looked so innocent, so sweet. Her red hair falling around her face. She looked extremely exhausted. She held him carefully in her arms. Kushina. At first she did not hear him. Kushina. She didn't turn until he was close. Whose baby is that? He questioned her, as she just stood there. The expression that she looked up at him with was not one that he has ever seen. Yes, he understood the situation was tragic, but Kushina was someone that has been through a lot, and it took a lot to truly break her. But it wasn't that she was broken. A look of shock. More than that, something deeply concerning and confusing. Something she couldn't properly understand. Kushina, talk to me. Are you hurt? Where did the baby come from? He said. Questions after questions. I found him, she said. I was doing a sweep of the impact sites on the south end with a smaller damage, she said, slowly making her way. I thought it was a meteor, but it wasn't, she said, gesturing for him to follow. Minato followed as they made their way in silence, the baby rather quiet as he simply looked around, unaware of the tragedy that he was currently in. That is when they arrived to see it. A pod. A pod. From what Minato could see, small, fit for a baby, with a strange symbol on it. Looked like a triangle with a S in the center. Minato has never seen the material before. It was not any metal that he has seen before. Markings carved into it, almost like a language. The problem was Minato has never seen this language before. It was glowing with a faint material, like it was running out of power. The light was slowly dimming. He wondered if it was because of the crash. He was inside, just sitting there, said Kushina. When I got there, he was just lying there, not crying, not scared. The pod had already been opened, and he was just lying there, she said. She looked up to the heavens. He came from the stars. Minato looked at the baby in her arms and looked at her before glancing up where she was looking. He looked back at the pod as the both of them were truly confused on this very moment, not knowing exactly what to think. However, while they were dealing with that situation, a green fog seeming to emerge from many of these small, crystallized green rocks. Whatever was going on, this meteor shower was affected by the earth itself. The elemental nation, it was the chakra. Those green meteorites, they start to release these strange, glowing substance, and it started to dim and spread and pour into the earth itself, almost like the chakra around. The constant revolving energy within the elemental nation was causing it to go nuclear as it spread. A tiny green mist spreading from the endpoint all over. Due to the meteors falling everywhere, the water, the trees, everything, it seemed to fuse inside of them, slowly disappearing inside of them in a very special way, including the human beings. It didn't feel like anything, so no one felt it. It didn't smell like anything, so no one smelled it. It was not something that anyone could properly explain what it might do. As it seeped into the rivers, it seeped into the sea, it seeped into the earth. And the baby started to cry. Yes, the baby that Kushina held, he started to cry. It didn't seem like whatever it was affected him, to hurt him, but it was almost like it was mental. A moment that would cause drastic change all over. Time skip. In the months after, the world did something that it had never managed to do before. It came together. The summit that had assembled was unlike anything the elemental nation has ever seen before. Every Kage, every leader of every faction that had a name, everything came together as one to have a global meeting. Even some settlements and communities that had never been a part of any alliance, they showed up because they had no other choice but to show up. They gathered in what was a neutral location where they could have an actual conversation about the state of humanity right now. There was nothing easy about it. Old grudges run deep. There was arguments that nearly ended the entire thing before it even began. There was walkouts. An accusation where it seems like the wounds of the past were too grave to even continue on with the talking. But then someone would have a level head and bring up the numbers. The real numbers. How many people were gone? How many of the world infrastructure was wiped out? How many crops? How many goods? How many part of civilization has been fundamentally destroyed and would never be repaired if they did not come together as one? And those numbers cut deep. They cut deep. It forced them to unite, because if it wasn't for unification, they would all fall. It wasn't perfect. Far, far from it. There was countless setbacks, friction, rage, anger, grudges. But the world realized that if something was not done, they would all fall as one. They needed to come together. Even though they were trying their best to work together, they realized it was months after one single incident that started the whole understanding of unification deeper than ever before. The man's name was Dozu. He came from the stone village. As he was molding the earth, trying to reconstruction a road. However, something happened. He lost it. His chakra flew and nothing happened. Something wasn't right. The people would later describe the look on his face. A man that reached for something in the dark but found absolutely nothing despite knowing that it was there. The doctors told him to rest. He pushed himself. He was stressed. The trauma from the chaos. Loved ones lost. That is what was causing it. That is what was causing his problem. But then it happened again. But not to him. To someone from another village. Then 10 more. Then 100 more across the elemental nation. What was left of the medical corps mobilized. They ran tests. The greatest medic was brought back to Konoha. Even she realized that in this situation she had to return. She was a part of a group that was aligned with medics from every single nation. Days, nights, they worked tirelessly, trying to understand, trying to learn what was truly going on with the biology of Shinobi. However, the green fog that had spread from around 2 years to be quite exactly now, it had merged and changed. Aspects of it had fundamentally rewritten when it collided with the chakra that was all around. The problem was, whatever this material was, it did not stay. It went away. But it went away after causing fundamental natural disaster all around the elemental nation. It was through the water, the soil, and the air. It has done something that would forever change the way that Shinobis existed. Yes, for most people, the chakra simply stopped working. Yet they live. Not all at once though. Not for everyone that the chakra faded away almost instantly. For some it take time. But they did not die. Despite the fact that what many of them were taught, if they exhaust their chakra they would die. But whatever that fog did, it changed them in a way that stripped away most of their abilities to use chakra. And when a child was born without any proper chakra circulation system, that is when they knew. That is when they knew. However, it wasn't everyone. Despite this being a global plague, some retained their chakra. Shinobis would still live, but the numbers are drastically reduced. It didn't become extinct, but due to the numbers, they became rare. Yes, Shinobis became rare. But the people believed that they didn't need to worry so much because they were unified, and this pushed them together even more closely than before. However, the loss of chakra for most was only half of what the green fog had left behind. Some people, not majority, but enough. While their chakra went away, something else emerged in its place. A man in a small village found that he could breathe smoke until he could literally turn his body into it. A woman found she could generate lightning within her palms. A young boy within the sand realized he could pull fire from nothing. No fuel, no jutsus, no hand sign at all. For a brief hopeful moment, people thought this was a gift, new ability to the world, new way to protect, new way to build. Unfortunately though, the hope did not last. Almost without exception, the people with these abilities, they started to change. Not their face, not their bodies, but something underneath. It begins small, the way they talk, the way they discuss certain things, the way they start to see themselves as superior, starting to see those beneath them as lesser beings. Even the kindness started to change in a way. It was like the rules that apply to normal people, it just did not exist for them anymore. Because they were above the normalcy of physics. Because they were different, they were special. Most of them became a danger. Some became violent. Maybe there was some that wasn't affected, that never changed personality even with these powers, but for the ones that did, they became a problem. They became a threat to everyone around them. Villages who had barely survived the calamity found themselves with people that could flatter entire village with a wave of their hands. Some that could transform into strange things. It was becoming a problem. Some even could control wild animals with a thought. Scientists, they argue constantly about the costs. They argue about what the change was. Was it the green toxin within the meteorites? It has to be. But the components of those was something that was out of their, mindset at the moment. The world was underdeveloped in many different ways, but they need to understand it. Was it the sense of superiority for those that lost their abilities? Even those that were granted these abilities that were civilians before? Was it the new sense of power that made them change almost immediately? No one could give a full clear answer on it. But a name emerged. Most of the meteor shards, some had been burned up in the atmosphere and dissolved the moment they came down into nothingness. Some had been taken. Some had been left around, as majority of them had been taken to be studied, to be fully dissected and understood. When most people was, exposed to them, absolutely nothing happened. Yes, nothing at all happened. It didn't change them. But there was a few rare cases when certain situations caused changes inside the people that could not be altered or restructured back to what it formerly was. These abilities, these powers, they were permanent. Someone said the name kryptonite. The problem was, no one knew who said this name. Who spoke of it like that? No one knew. Yet people started to go along with it. That on itself was a mystery. Where did that name just pop from? No one knew. Maybe there was fundamental forces at play here that no one would understand anytime soon. However, there was one thing for certain though. The world needed Shinobis more than ever, and Shinobis were rare. The world itself was going to go through fundamental changes that no one was ready for. It was approximately 16 years after everything. It was Konoha that we begin. Konoha was different. The structure of the village, the shape of the village, it was considerably smaller. Maybe 1/3 of the village had been destroyed completely. 1/3 of the population had been wiped out. Maybe more than that. As we speak, there was new residents within Konoha that had lived nowhere here before. People that had lost everything, given shelter and migrated into the village. The rarity of the past, bloodlines, those things were almost non-existent. However, the name was still carried by those people. And right now, Konoha had people that would have never been here if it wasn't for this tragedy. Everything was different. The people, the structure, the way everything was just different. Due to the stop of isolations, you could see roads that led to different paths. Not to mention the meteors had fundamentally changed the structure of the entire pathway. People could freely move from one place to another. Well, freely was a given word. There were still forces out there that were preventing peaceful days. And that is why people needed Shinobis, protection, more than ever before. As a large amount of the population were now civilians, majority of them being born without the uses of chakra. Minato Namikaze had been Hokage ever since. He was now 37 years old, as he was currently at his desk, looking over a few reports. You might think that the world was peaceful, but it was far from it. Minato gazed towards a photo on his desk. He was there in the background, smiling. Kushina was holding something in her arms, a small child. In front of them was another small child, dark hair, blue eyes. The girl that Kushina was holding was their daughter. She was now 10 years old. Her name was Mito. The boy, his name was Naruto. He was 16 years old. Yes, he was the one that fell from the sky. The people of Konoha, those who would even think of it, Naruto was the adopted son of the Hokage. He had lost his true mother and father, and he was found in the outskirts, away from the village. And the Namikaze family adopted him. He's been there ever since. The people loved him. The family loved him. Yes, because the truth was hidden. The truth was kept away for a reason. Him and Kushina had talked about it a lot. So much time in the night. They never wanted to truly say the theory out loud, but the trajectory of the pod, the timing, the residue, everything. But deep down they knew. Whatever came to their world, it followed Naruto. Yes, it followed Naruto. It followed his pod. It was almost like he brought it here. But he was a baby. Whoever sent him here, perhaps they were the one that sent it here, yes. It was either triggered by his arrival, or something followed him. That was the explanation that they had. But they couldn't allow anyone to find out, for more than one reasons. There was only a small group of people that knew the truth about Naruto. A very, 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 very small amount. The former Hokage was one of them. Yes, him and Minato had done a great job at hiding everything and creating a track record that led to a family that never existed, where Naruto truly came from. Both Minato and Kushina were seen as heroes, taking in a child that had lost everything. This had sparked a chain of actions for many. Many who had lost their loved ones actually brought in many others, bringing together family and unification more than ever before. And they were the ones that started this. Yes, they did. Kushina was already seen as a global hero to most. The tales of what she did even after falling to her knees and struggling. During the chaos was still told these days. She was a treasure amongst the nation. All those that put their life on the line were. Yes, the problem was though, Naruto wasn't normal. Flashback. It started when he was around 6 years old. Kushina had came out to the backyard to call him in. There was an oak tree in the backyard. The problem was, this thing was large, rooted into the ground. However, when she saw Naruto's fingers gripping into it as he was pulling it out of the soil, and the soil was actually starting to root up, Kushina became fearful almost immediately. She yelled his name, the name that was given to him by them. She yelled him and told him to stop. There was no chakra signature, no molding, no techniques, no energy displacement. This was raw, unnatural, super strength. It wasn't a jutsu, it wasn't an ability. It was just raw strength. This wasn't the first time they heard about something like this. The problem was, the stigma that this followed was something that was beyond dangerous. The speed came next. Then the hearing, when he mentioned that he could hear the birds in the forest. And when he was 14 years old, you know, children, hormones, all of that. It was an incident when he had saw a girl that was, well, remarkably beautiful to him. And his eyes had released heat that nearly burned down the entire building. Luckily for him though, he was able to leave. They had trained him by telling him to focus. And focus he did. And he was able to shoot those projectiles from his eyes. Burning hot super flames. Heat vision that could blast through almost anything. Once again showing him how strange he was. He was terrified of himself that day. He wouldn't have even looked at anyone if they hadn't talked to him, coached him to properly focus his gaze. And the only people that knew were the ones that had to know. Hiruzen, Kakashi, Jiraiya. It was something that they had to keep secretive. Naruto could not tell anyone. It was a stigma. Yes, it was a stigma. The people that had gained abilities, they were seen as monsters. Even Konoha had to work together to, well, it was hard to say, but they executed many of these people. But some of them, they could not be stopped. Regular prisons could not hold most of them. Over the years though, they had developed places to keep people like these. Not to mention they had developed technologies, powerful devices, powerful shackles and cuffs that could restrain these kind of people. There was a special place that they placed these people. The problem was, the stigma for these people were grave. Even the mere mention of one of these kryptonite freaks, everyone grew clammy and afraid. Shinobis were being specially trained to kill these things because everyone believed that once you were a crypto freak, that you would eventually turn and murder everyone. A few years back, innocent people were slaughtered because of this. It was accidental placement on many people's name, and innocent people were killed. That is why the prison was created. But even now, the mere mention of that, even own family members turn their loved ones in if they learn they have abilities. The stigma of this had grown so strong that Minato and Kushina want to make sure that no one ever find out about Naruto. That no one ever know the truth about him either. Where he came from, that would be much worse. People would see Minato as a hypocrite. They would see him as a monster harboring one right under their nose. Yes, however, now it was time. Everyone was trained until they were properly able to fight against these crypto freaks. Ninjas were a rare oddity in this world, and Shinobis had to be specially trained. From a young age going up to the age of 16, sometimes 17, they were prepared to fight these freaks. Yes, because these things were more common than most. Sometimes they led armies of regular shinobis that were either afraid of them or working with them because they promised them something or another, or they saw themselves as less. Some people were just stuck in these ways. It was odd, yes. However, these people have grown over the years. The number of them had grown significantly, and shinobis were being trained to stop them. Many people, they would question about the choices that their leaders make. Leaders had their children and their loved ones on the front line because anyone that was born with the ability to mold chakra needed to be out there fighting, so Minato would be seen as a hypocrite for not putting Naruto out there. And they would want to test him, so Minato had no choice but to, well, allow the world to know that his son could mold chakra. But that wasn't truthful. That wasn't truthful at all. However, for the past 16 years, they have trained Naruto thoroughly to dial it down a bit, not knowing how truly strong he is. They had trained him thoroughly to perfectly work without anyone noticing. Not to mention, their Jonin sensei, the one that would guide them until they were properly ready, was Kakashi Hatake. However, there will be times where other representatives from other villages would come together, because it was no longer rare or surprising to see ninjas from all over working together on a big job. So Naruto had to be careful. And Naruto had been trained specifically by the both of them. Minato and Kushina trusted him, and he was now 16 years old, and it was time for him to, well, save the world. Because that is what they were doing. Most times they were able to capture these crypto freaks, but sometimes they had to take them down. Naruto was told the truth when he was 10 years old. To properly understand what was going on, Minato and Kushina were afraid, but they told him the truth and he believed that he caused this. They tried to tell him for a long while that he didn't, but he took it upon himself like a work, like a job. He wanted from that day to become a hero to stop these people. Yes, he needed to stop them, as he believed that locking them up was the right thing as well, that the powers they had, that they were using them for the wrong things. But he also believed that some of them were good because he was good. Maybe he was just like them, but that wouldn't explain the ship. End of flashback. The facility was special. Created special. It was under the Namikaze household. For the past 16 years where that pod had been stored. For the past 16 years where that pod had been dormant. As Naruto stood there, he looked completely human, despite not being from this world. Blue eyes, dark hair. He was tall for his age, and handsome, extremely so, yes. People did not really focus, but if they did, they would realize that he doesn't get sick. He doesn't really tire that easily. He can do things that normal people doesn't do. Cold weather, things like that. But he was really good at hiding it. Today was a very special day. He was a ninja. That is how they saw it. Ninjas were the good ones, yes. There was no doubt about that. It was a rite of passage for most people to thrive to become a ninja in this world. He did not know his origin or what they meant, but he knew this pod was involved. He didn't know what it means, but eventually he believed that he would get the answers that he seek. He didn't have chakra, but he can sure make it look like he do. Not to mention, Kakashi was well aware of who he was, and that he wasn't like the others. But it made him wonder most times, what made him so different? Was it the way he was raised? Or maybe he was truly just completely different from them in ways that most would never understand. He did not know exactly what he was, but he really wanted to know. But for now though, he would do his best to protect the ones that he loved. Time skip. The village has changed since Naruto was smaller, but something hasn't. The main road that ran through the center of Konoha was wider, yes, it was a lot wider than when he was smaller. The architecture had also changed as well. It was built more flatly. In a world where they had such an event, even the builders were afraid to build anything too tall, so things were wider. But due to the geological change that took place, the land mass and the platform was something they could build on, expand on, so there was a lot of buildings that went to the side and not up. And also there was new buildings for communications, poles that ran from one to another. You could walk into any of the administration office right now and send a message to someone from another village entirely, and it would reach them under an hour. A couple years back, that would have seemed like a fantasy, but the world had moved fast. With many people losing their chakra, it felt like many of them lost their creativity. Many more funding departments had been poured into growing their, technology. You had the once known Snow Village, now the Land of Spring, and several others where technology base was primary and powerful. They had really changed the world into something greater than ever before. It made life easier for a lot of people, yes, extremely so. Even though there were dark times, where some who lost the mobility of their chakra felt like they were useless. Some even went to extreme levels, something you can't come back from. Some adapted, some never truly adapted, living in misery because they believed they would never be greater than what they were. But that is just how the world is, right now, how humans were. The population mostly consists of civilians here, due to the change of the village parameters. As you could see them making their way, moving from one place to another, there was a lot of them. Naruto was making his way. Today was a special day after all. Arriving towards a location, Naruto saw her. They were the same age, she was also 16 years old. Her name was Sakura Haruno. "You're 3 minutes late," she said. Naruto looked towards her. "Sensei is not even here yet. No one is here yet." She had a thing for time. She was always on time. Sensei being late doesn't make us on time. It just makes him worse. "Let me guess. You took the long road again," she said to him. "I like the long road," said Naruto. "You like avoiding things until you can't," she said. He didn't have an answer for that because she was right. She was a very precise individual. Having been trained 4 years under the greatest medical ninja, to walk this earth had really changed her. Yes, it had really changed her a lot. She was sharp, precise, able to pick someone apart like she was picking apart something difficult with a patient. She put it in her day-to-day activity. "Morning," a voice said. Sasuke Uchiha arriving, hands in his pockets, is here covering one of his eyes, left one to be quite exact. 16 years old, tall. Sasuke Uchiha, hail from the Uchiha clan. It was once known as one of the greatest clans in Konoha. It still carried the weight behind it, it always would, but the weight had not been as heavy. Yes, a lot of them amongst the Uchihas have lost their abilities. A lot of them. Their father, even Fukaku Uchiha, he was no longer the clan head. He had gave that title on to his son, Itachi Uchiha, who was still able to mold chakra and produce it, being known as the greatest Uchiha to walk the earth as of this moment. Yes, but Sasuke wanted to change that. He wanted to become something so great that his name would be written in the history books, that his name would ensure that the Uchiha clan is forever stamped into the history of everything. Yes, Sasuke was raised to be better. His father had a lot of time to train him, to push him to his limits and beyond. Sasuke took that with strive, even though he felt well, lacking when it came to development, especially when you compare him to Itachi, something he really should not do. He told himself that he accepted that a long time ago, but his promise was still there to become the greatest Uchiha to always be in the history of everything. His name will carry it all. You're both here, Sasuke said. Stay in the office. Amazing, so are you, said Naruto. Sasuke looked at him. This was not, well, uncommon for them. They've been friends ever since they could remember. You see, their mothers were really close. They were best friends. Thus, they basically grew up together. So it was always a bit of back and front between them. Sasuke had thoughts in his head that were fading, but they were there. To Naruto being strange. He could remember something when they were younger. A tree. A massive part of it falling because they had went exploring in the woods. And Naruto casually throwing it many distance away. Naruto has always been odd. But Sasuke chalked that up to him just being strange, nothing of it. But deep in his mind, Sasuke knew there was something, but he just never really dived into it. But Naruto was one of his closest friends. There was no doubt about that. Good morning, a voice said. They looked up to see Kakashi Hatake, almost like he was there the entire time. How long have you been there, Sakura said. Long enough, he said, jumping down, landing. Usually, there would be a mission. A mission for them to go up against their Jonin sensei, but they were specially trained from they could remember. To be special. Yes, they were specially trained to become something that would protect their village. So there was no need. Naruto training was different, yes. Minato was the Hokage. He could change things around a lot. So no one truly had their true insight on Naruto's development. Yes. However, they were all specially trained for their own department. So there was no need for such a test. Besides, the rank of Genin had been drastically increased to levels that would have made previous Genins look like a child's play. Even in wartime, yes. Then again, they were 16 years old and already put through hell to become what they are. So, they were ready for this. Time skip. 3 weeks of missions, moving from village to village. Most of the time they spent time out of the village for a long while, returning back in months or something like that. The world was, well, comforting to most shinobis. Not all part of the world, but majority of it, say 99%. They could visit any major village, any minor village. They stayed at many villages all over. Most time villages call them and send mission over, things that would have never been done in the past. However, things have been easy so far, until they receive word that there was a village that was being targeted. More than one now, the pattern fell into something dangerous. A category C perhaps going on to B. But the dangerous fact was the wire relay system. The communication that they used was something that the world desperately rely on now, and someone was targeting majority of them. So they were sent there to handle the threat. The problems could not stay local anymore. So while another village could handle it, it was sent to another, and Konoha was the one that received it. Due to the extensive search and the extensive research that was done to ensure the safety for almost everyone, they got information on a lot of people. His name is Joko Kurosuke. Kakashi said, 29, farmer, civilian, electrician. From what we can see, he developed his abilities approximately 6 years ago. Have been able to evade capture until now. Kakashi said to them, believing that his team had what it takes to take him down, as they discussed their strategy on moving in. This was their first time. It would be their first time facing one of those crypto freaks. They were nervous. Well, the other two were. Naruto was nervous for a completely different reason. despite being drilled over and over and over again for this exact moment to be prepared to fight without truly going all out. That was a bit nervous on his part. It took them some time to arrive. As their force was capable of handling this, they've already sent word that they were en route, and the villages gave them path. Also, location and proper structure information. Jocko had moved from one part to another, having drained the electricity from the other part. The problem was, he wanted to go incognito to enter without problems. Yet, the team identified him rather quickly. The black cloth draped from head to toe, moving quietly. Kakashi Hatake was already given word. You could see the people moving out almost immediately. Jocko took notice of that, as Kakashi revealed himself so that the evacuation can be done without Jocko targeting the innocent people. "Shinobi," Jocko said, stepping up, tearing off the cloak off his head. "They send a shinobi after me." He smiled. "My name is Kakashi Hatake, and we're here to take you in." "Take me in?" Jocko started to smile. "Where? To that island?" He chuckled darkly, that look in his eyes. Overcome with his own power, something the scientists have been studying to truly understand the chemicals behind the power reaction that cause these people to change in these fundamental ways. Sakura covered the north area as she stood there. "Now why would I go there?" he said, smiling. "You killed 2 people, Sakura responded. "They got in my way. Something that will happen to anyone that stands in my way. So tell me," he said, "do you really want to chance it? Look at you. So young," he said, looking at Sakura. "So much life ahead of you. Are you sure you want to die here?" He sniffed the air almost like he was smelling something. "I can feel it on you. Chakra is a bit more difficult because it fight back. It's trying to resist. More difficult than the electrical energy." Kakashi's eye went wide as he understood something in that moment from what Jocko had just said. "Stand back," he said, immediately jumping in front of Sakura as Jocko moved, realizing that this man wasn't just able to absorb electricity. However, Kakashi had already moved, his hand at the back of him, giving Sakura symbols that she understood almost instantly. They surrounded Jocko, the other 2 revealing themselves. Kakashi tried to use a feint on him, electricity gathering in his own palm. He wanted Jocko to absorb it. Kakashi was moving in quickly. However, Kakashi wasn't expecting for Jocko to be, in control of his own actions. He thought he would hunger for the electricity, but he did not take it. Kakashi Shidori struck him, but due to the complexity of his own ability, it didn't do anything. The lightning simply passed harmlessly across his skin. "Good," he said, "but not good enough." His whole body lit up right there and then. The weapon that Kakashi held, it wasn't able to reach him fast enough. The copy ninja was blasted back, the surge of electricity shooting him across the area, slamming into his chest like a hammer. However, his vest, it had special material inside of it. Years of development had shinobis ready to keep themselves protected. Jocko, on the other hand, once again proved why he was unpredictable. His body started to tremble, almost like he was going to change into something. Sasuke's Sharingan activated almost immediately. 3 totem in both of his eyes. Having these now for the Uchiha clan was more rare than ever before. Sasuke was in mid-air as he tossed the 4 kunais to one area, one to another and another to another, surrounding Jocko, trembling form. "Kakashi sensei," he said. Kakashi understood almost immediately as he sent this electrical energy through it. It simply spread from one point to another, creating a field to distort, to slow Jocko down. The problem was the ground. Clever. Jocko said, clever kids. Naruto now! Naruto was well known for his super strength, so this would not come off as surprising. But when Jocko had lit up, he had punctured the earth, despite it being the opposite. Once again, we see that this type of power was nothing similar to what chakra was. Jocko's body turned into lightning as he went down. The field did not affect him because of the earth and their chakra being, well, less effective against earth material due to it being lightning. Jocko went down and burst through the ground behind Sakura, aiming for their medic to kill her. Sakura could not turn fast enough. Kakashi and Sasuke's back was turned. Kakashi was aware though, but Sasuke was not, despite them having known each other for so long. Naruto's eyes immediately heat up. His heat vision blasted out the moment Jocko solidified himself. It tore a hole through his shoulder, giving Sakura time as she turned. Her fist clenched as she struck his chin. She sent him into the heavens, showing that she wasn't only taught medical ninjutsu. There was a reason why she was one of Tsunade's prized pupils. Her feet left the ground as she leaped above his velocity, showing she was much faster as her leg was raised. Jocko didn't have time to look up as she struck him. His body hit the ground with a boom, creating a devastating, destructive blast. The discharge of energy spasming from him as he lay there. Kakashi moved towards the man, pulling out the special restraints they had used studies on the meteor rocks, the kryptonites, to make this, and it seemed to weaken them, so it worked against these meteor freaks as well. These didn't have meteor rocks inside of them though, they didn't. Placing them on Jocko, his power seemed to diminish almost immediately, even though it spasmed a bit. Kakashi cloaked over the wound on his shoulder, not wanting the other two to see. To make them question what caused this, he gazed over towards Naruto and gave him a nod, showing him that he did the right thing. They pulled him to his feet. With that, the group took him away. The people were grateful to them. The island, it was 2 miles off the shore. When they finally made their way across, they were given a special envoy to make their way there. 4 members. Jocko was restrained. One of those devices was placed around his neck. This one was larger. The man at the front whispered something to him, and you could see the look in Jocko's eyes as he immediately stopped fighting, knowing that this thing on his neck was, well, something far more deadly. Arriving there, they did not get to see inside. The prison was humongous. It was large. You couldn't see the end from where you stood, on no point unless you were flying in the sky. Monsters, Sakura said. Naruto looked towards her. All of them were raised to see these people as monsters. She turned towards him. I mean, most of them didn't ask for this, right? The abilities, they kill people. Most of them had done horrific things. It's just a fact, Naruto, she said. Yeah, Naruto said. He saw the look in her eyes. That is why he was afraid. Afraid of anyone, even the ones that he come to see as his closest friends. Learning that he was like them, or maybe even worse. She looked as Jocko was taken. The monster had killed 2 innocent people, now acting like he was a good innocent person himself. Don't let it get to you, Sasuke said. That is what they want you to think, that they're harmless. They belong here. Yeah, Sakura said. But Naruto saw someone. Seems like they were given time out in the yard. A woman. She looked so innocent. Were they all truly evil? The question was, why would they be here if they weren't? Far away from this location, screams of all kinds could be heard in a specialized room. Inside, we get to see the man that has been doing some rather disturbing things. He walked down the hall. Orochimaru of the Sannin. Orochimaru passed by a room. This room had some items inside. One of these items had a hexagon shape. The crazy thing about it was, it had the same symbol that was on Naruto's ship. Not to mention there was a hexagon path right on Naruto's ship that was missing something. Orochimaru had found this relic some time ago, having no true idea what it was or what it truly means. However, whatever it was, it seemed to be a key for something. Maybe a key for Naruto's ship. Something he doesn't know of. Of course not. However, while that was going on, we get to see another disturbing something going on. A woman. Her name was Conan. Formerly, ninja of the Land of Rain. Former hero of the Land of Rain. Former ninja. She was currently talking to what seemed to be a crystal. Now that was unusual. This crystal seemed to also be mixed in with Naruto. It was the markings, the symbols that were in a tongue that they could not read, yet she was speaking to someone. Soon she said, "Things are going just as planned. For Naruto and friends, this might be the start of something new, but they had absolutely no idea that the world had been turning for a long time. As we will get to see why he was sent here. Was it to help? Was it to destroy? Also, what does all of this mean? Who is she talking to? The trials ahead, can he really handle them? Or will he be too afraid to handle them? Or will the world turn against him the moment they find out that he's probably the monster that caused this? It's best if no one finds out and leak this. The world would turn against him quickly. The stigma upon these things were too great. And Naruto had no idea what he was in store for. Then again, to have such power and to never truly use them when needed, that wasn't a possibility. And soon he will realize that maybe it would have been best if he never become a ninja. Not one bit. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want to see the next part, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.